Hello, everybody. My name's Ian Broom. I'm the CEO of Fliplet and one of the co-founders. And today I'm going to be presenting a webinar to you on the future of the Return to Office app. So that's me. And this is what we're going to be covering today. So I'm going to quickly give a brief overview for Fliplet for anybody new on the call who hasn't worked with Fliplet before. Then I'm going to summarize a bit of feedback we've received from customers about the Return to Office app. I'm going to talk about what our planned features are for the future and upgrades to any existing features. I'm going to talk about Fliplet's post-pandemic vision for the Return to Office app. And I'm going to give our customers some guidance about how to add new features into your existing Return to Office app. And then we will have QA at the end. How to use Zoom? I think most people know how to use Zoom now, but you can ask questions at any time in chat. You can message Dave McDermott, not Chris Longmuir, because Chris has to jump to another meeting at the end of this. And so if you want to privately message anybody your questions, you can message Dave McDermott. Please stay on mute. There's no reason why you should need to come off mute during this webinar. And yeah, there's no reason to have your camera on either. And we are recording this. So a quick overview of Fliplet. So Fliplet enables you to rapidly build apps. Most of the features that you need in order to build apps with Fliplet are pre-built, and most of the time it's code-free, but you can optionally customize Fliplet with code. Fliplet has a broad set of drag and drop features, some of which you can see on the screen, which enables you to very rapidly pull together high-quality apps. And we support a number of distribution options, including iOS, Android, and web. And one of the great things about Fliplet is the infrastructure is handled for you. So this not only includes servers and places where you can store data and back up your data, but we also bring all the encryption and enterprise-grade features that you need. Everything is basically bundled, and we manage it for you. All you need to worry about is building a great app. So let's dive straight into some of the feedback that we've received about the Return to Office app. So I guess just a little bit of background. The Return to Office app was launched, I think it was launched in maybe June. And it was launched after a number of customers reached out to us and asked how we could help them to return to the office. Could we help them with a software solution that would enable them to make it safe and manage government guidelines in how they return to the office. We then rapidly produced an app template called the Return to Office app, and customers have been actively using it now for a number of months. So to date, we have about 26 of our current customers using it. Fliplet's customers are predominantly made up of large professional service organizations. About 80% of the customers that are using the app are law firms. We have about 8 current customers producing their own version of the Return to Office app. So the number of 26 in a month or so will be even higher. And on average at the moment, due to optimizations and improving how we work with customers, it's taking about 15 days for us to start working with a new customer to get them up to internal pilot for their Return to Office app. So that kind of shows you some of the success that we've had. And by far, this is Fliplet's most successful app template to date in such a short time frame. We deeply appreciate our customers' willingness to collaborate with us and evolve the Return to Office app. And you'll see that quite a few of the features that we've incorporated today are based on feedback from our customers. So some people will already have these features incorporated into their Return to Office apps, but some customers may be only hearing about these features for the first time today. So what customers love about the Return to Office app? They love that it's a rapid response solution, so customers can quickly react to COVID-19 as guidelines evolve. It's pre-built, which means it's very quick to deploy to staff or pilot internally. It ensures staff safety by incorporating health surveys and health confirmation. It has customized booking forms, which enable the app to track more than just Return to Office data or office booking data. It evolves, so it adapts as the COVID-19 guidelines change, and we've definitely seen a lot of that. And for any UK customers on the phone, you're experiencing more of that today, particularly if you're based in London. There's a dashboard, which our customers really like, and it enables them to monitor the status of staff and officers. The app includes smartphone scanning, which enables you to check in and check out with QR codes. It enables you to very rapidly find out information about your colleagues through our powerful staff directory that's built in. It includes a news feed that can be used to display local and global content about COVID-19. And it includes notifications that deliver high-value, timely messages based on users' preferences. So it includes SMS, push notification, and email. And customers via the app can choose, users of the app can choose how they want notifications. The key insight that I think you can summarize from this is that not only are customers using this successfully for returning to the office, but customers are also using this for more than just returning to the office. So let me talk about our vision for return to office. So at the beginning, there was remote working. This is after kind of lockdown in the UK and the US, and arguably most of the Western world had come into place earlier this year. So before return to office, we were remote working. Then we started to return to the office, sometimes in fits and spurts. And that's when Fliplet launched the Return to Office app. And it was designed to be a system to manage office capacity, office space check-in, health status, colleague status, and office information. The next phase that we believe will be coming for the Return to Office app is a higher rate of office occupancy. And I know many of our customers are already wishing that was here, but unfortunately, the pandemic is continuing to postpone being able to kind of successfully return to office. So what we're intending to do is late 2020, we're going to introduce an enhanced system to manage more staff returning to the office. We're acutely aware, based on feedback from our customers, that the Return to Office app, although very good in its initial state, could definitely do with some refinements. And I'll be telling you about those refinements in a moment. And then the final stage is hopefully offices open and there's a mixture of people going into the office and remote working. And we believe that RtO in 2021, which will hopefully mark the end at some point of the pandemic, organizations will need a system that brings remote working and office working together while retaining the benefits of the Return to Office app. Many customers have reported that the new features that have been delivered by the Return to Office app have enabled them to do change or implement change in the organization that they haven't been able to successfully implement for a number of reasons. We don't want customers that have experienced an improvement in how they're using technology to lose that improvement just because office lockdown disappears. So we're hoping today to outline a long-term vision as well for what the Return to Office app will become. And of course, we realized that the return to office is a temporary period in time. It's like a phase which I think most of us would like to end, but we don't get the choice to choose when it ends, unfortunately. But because the return to office is a temporary period in time, we realized that it's probably not an appropriate name for long term. We've also spoken with many customers, and many companies are taking a hybrid approach of staff working remote and from the office, and they believe that that is going to be the future. So therefore, we believe that the return to office has to evolve into a solution for managing remote staff and office staff. So therefore, we're going to rename Fliplet's Return to Office into the Remote and Office Management Solution, also known as ROMS. So from now on, when I'm referring to ROMS, you can mentally interchange RtO or our new acronym. So let's start talking about the updates that are coming to the Return to Office, also known as ROMS. So the next update that's due later this year will include health survey improvements. So we've already got a built-in health survey that we actively share with new customers. What we've noticed is that recently we've had to update this health survey so that it is in line with CDC or NHS recommendations, because Apple will not allow apps to go into the App Store or pass the App Store review process if the COVID information that we're including isn't from a reputable source. So that's a change that Fliplet has been making for customers for any new apps that we've been building, and it's now getting rolled back into the updated app template. We've also added in improvements to reminders that ensure that after people have made a booking, that they're reminded that a health screening is required, and that if they haven't completed the health screening 2 hours before their booking, the app will remind them you must complete a health screening, or in some cases, you're not going to be let into the building. We've also improved for end users the status booking and check-in. So status can now be set from Friday for the next week, which is a very common request that we receive from customers. We're going to be adding some parking questions into the booking form. Again, a common request. We're also going to automatically check people out of old check-ins when they check in again. So you won't end up with with users being checked into multiple spaces or multiple offices. And we're also adding in an option where people will not be able to check in unless they have a valid booking. We're also going to introduce some additional features, which we spoke about previously in relation to return to office, but it didn't make it into the first version, to reduce exposure risks when people are in the office. So this includes the ability to order food from the canteen from your desk and be told when it's ready, so you don't have to go to the canteen, stand in line, or risk the canteen becoming overcrowded and exceeding COVID regulations. We're also going to enable, because it's a very similar feature, people to order catering if they want without, again, having to leave their desk or the meeting room. We anticipate that the canteen and catering ordering will be very similar and hopefully, again, enable features that can last after COVID. Personally, I'd be very excited if I could order coffee to my meeting room without having to get up or make a telephone call or interrupt my meeting. We're also going to start to include some request assistance forms. So these will be examples of how you can request assistance from facilities, reception, etc. Again, to try to reduce the amount of people walking around on floors that have meeting rooms, reducing congestion, and also enabling reception staff to avoid contact with as many people as possible, kind of within guidelines, of course, rather than having lots of people kind of standing and milling around reception, trying to speak to facilities or reception staff. And then finally, requests can be sent to a person or a team. So in the case of canteen or catering, they'll probably be sent to a team. In the request for assistance, it might be sent to a specific person, for example, your AV person who can come and assist in a meeting room. We're also adding additional features to help staff understand the changes to the office. So this will include floor plans, which you can see a screenshot of. It's also going to include the ability for you to browse spaces and then be forwarded through to the booking form so that you can kind of see the space that you want to book and then book it without having to select it from the drop-down list in the booking form. We hope to also be able to include some capacity information on the floor plan as well, which will help people to know, okay, if I'm going to the office, I can't book that space. It's already full. Maybe I can find another space. We've also got some enhanced reminders coming. These will all trigger before your office booking. So the first one is that there'll be a booking reminder 24 hours before your office booking. This enables you to cancel your office booking if you don't need it. We're also going to include a health survey reminder, which goes off 2 hours before your office booking. And then finally, a check-in reminder, which goes off 15 minutes before, just to make sure that you remember to check in and you don't enter the office without scanning the appropriate QR code. And then we're improving access to the tool by enabling people to scan the check-in QR codes directly from the camera app in Android and iOS. Currently, you can't do this. But soon you will be able to. And what this means is that you don't have to open your Return to Office or ROMS app in order to scan the barcode. You can just access the camera from your lock screen, point it at the QR code. And as you can see on this slide, it has a little pop-up. You'll just tap that, it'll load the web app and allow you to go straight in and complete the booking. For the office managers and admins, we have a suite of improved features. First is improved reporting. So health status will now be visible on the dashboard if you're using the health survey. And you'll also be able to see on the dashboard a date range as opposed to a single date. We're also going to be improving security. So in line with GDPR and HIPAA compliance, health survey data is now going to be limited to office managers only. This is a common request and something we've implemented for multiple customers and something that we believe makes sense. We're also going to be enhancing the app security rules and the data source security rules. So with this new app, both app security and data source security is being reviewed and tightened to make it extra secure and extra compliant with legislation. And in line with what the NHS and the UK government recommend, they do not want old sensitive data, old health surveys, potentially old booking data even retained if you don't need to keep it. So we're adding in a wipe old sensitive data feature. And you can see on the right-hand side, you're able to select which data source you want to remove data from and then tell it the number of days it's actually not the number of days to delete. I've realized that should be the other way around. It's the number of days to retain. So if you say I want to keep 21 days worth of data, it will delete everything older than 21 days. And we're improving the communication. So again, this is a feature we spoke about when we announced Return to Office, but in the unprecedented demand that we received from customers, we had to postpone this feature. Since then, we've polished it and tested it. And so we're now going to be launching a feature that enables you to broadcast communications via email, push, and SMS directly from your app. It'll suit a couple of scenarios. So the first one is, for example, you can invite new users, and we will include a built-in invite user template, which will include screenshots of the app, instructions for how to engage, and of course, you can customize it before you send it. Another scenario will be the ability to send communications to specific users in offices or just specific users. Particularly, I think that sending notices to people who have associated themselves with particular offices is relevant. We've heard of some customers who have had COVID situations in their offices, and they've had to notify everybody who attends that office and tell them this office is shut for 3 days while we give it a deep clean. Therefore, we believe that this is going to help and enable office managers or admins to very rapidly communicate with either new users or existing users. And an additional scenario that we're including is a scenario where in an emergency, an admin or an office manager can actually override the user preferences and send a notification on any channel they prefer. Now, this will be an exception rather than a rule, but we believe that this enables an entirely new use case for the app, which means if you need to get a message to somebody regardless of the notification preferences they have, then you will be able to. So what this means is that you can send email, push, and SMS, even if the user has opted out of, say, receiving SMS, as long as we obviously have their telephone number. We're also including some additional Office Manager notification emails, which can be configured. These will include when a booking is made, when a booking is added to the waiting list, or when a booking is cancelled. We've had a number of customers request that a variety of these scenarios are enabled, and now we're building them in by default. So in summary, ROMS offers enhanced features designed to improve existing processes that the Return to Office app has initiated, support your staff and ensure that they're safe, and manage more staff as they return to the office by ironing out improvements in the workflow features and other capabilities that the Return to Office app delivered. So just a quick reminder that if you have any questions about any of the features that I've covered so far, please just send a message in the chat. You can message Dave directly or just post your message publicly. We're very friendly, we don't bite, and we'd love to answer your questions. And in case you're wondering when these new features are going to be available for you to trial, you can access them in November. Okay, so now let's talk about what we're intending to deliver in 2021 for the remote and office management solution. And I'd like to just point out that the features that I'm going to go through are still being matured and ironed out, and we'd love to hear from you if any of these are really exciting for you, and also if any of these you think really aren't of interest and you wouldn't use it if we delivered them. The reason why is we're still refining this, and so yeah, any feedback is greatly appreciated. Okay, so ROMS 2021. Firstly, we're intending to enhance the staff directory. So the staff directory is going to become the most powerful and personalized staff directory that we hope most organizations have ever seen. How will we do that? Well, we're going to have staff status information, which can be the same as what we currently collect in the Return to Office app or the ROMS app, but it can also be extended. So if you'd like to start collecting additional information about your staff, we can do that as well. It's going to include the option to include the full professional biography of each staff member. We know how important biography information is in professional service organizations, and being able to find the right people directly off your smartphone when you're when you're being asked by a client, can you help me with this piece of work, is really important. So we're going to enhance the directory so that it's designed to handle full professional biographies. It's also going to start to display the local time of the user and the time zone that they're in, which will automatically update with daylight savings. We've also got some new features coming to our list from data source feature, which includes a new sorting feature and a new filter, which enables you to filter by name, number or date. So we think that this will be very helpful, particularly if you've got any date related information in your biography or any number information in your biography data. We're also giving people the ability to create and share their own contact lists. So what this means is if you're running a project and you have 5 colleagues that you are working on the project with you, you can easily just say new list, add the 5 people to the project, and then share that list via the ROMS app with your colleagues. This will enable them to add or remove people, and so it really becomes a collaborative list. And we think that this is going to be very exciting. This is going to really help to elevate the staff directory feature to becoming much more personalized and in line with what people's needs are. We're also going to have a favorite contacts list, a recently viewed contacts list, and we're going to add, as you can see in the picture, a QR code that makes it very easy for people in your organization to share their V card with anybody they meet. Now, the V card will be emailed to the person or loaded in the browser and will exclude any sensitive data. The information that goes in the V card will be completely configurable by the customer. So nothing sensitive will be included. We just think that that'll help people sharing contact information about themselves with people outside the organization. We're also going to enhance the Office directory. The purpose of the Office directory is to have all of the Office information in a single place with relevant information and integrated with third-party apps. So let me tell you how we're intending to do that. First, we're going to have Office status and availability, which is already a feature available in Return to Office. But again, it can be further refined and customized as this feature evolves. It's going to include the standard hours of the office, which might be the reception hours. This will help people to explain if they were meeting a customer in an office, say the New York office opens at 8:30 a.m. That's when reception's there. Particularly if they were from out of town and they needed to check in, there's very little value in them arriving before reception's open. It's going to include weather information. So if you're traveling to the New York office and it's snowing, at least now you'll get an early warning system. It's going to include the time and time zone of the office. It will also include a list of relevant office news from the news feed. It's going to include maps and directions, which will be provided by Google and Apple Maps. It's also going to include parking and transport information. We're going to integrate Lyft and Uber. So it's just one tap and it'll load your Uber and Lyft app and enable you to then just say, pick me up from where I am. It accelerates, it reduces the amount of time it takes to request a car. We're also going to include, where relevant, the latest subway, metro, and tube information directly into the Office screen. And then finally, we're going to include a QR code to share the address of the office with anybody. So this will enable you to very rapidly exchange information about, oh, sure, shall we meet in the New York office? No problem. Do you want to just scan this with your smartphone? And that'll give you the address information, which you can then save. We're also intending to create a visitor self-check-in capability. Now, some customers may be aware that the current Return to Office template includes a guest check-in form. This guest check-in form was originally designed so that reception can use it. And I think that it probably hasn't been used a huge amount yet because I don't think many offices are dealing with many visitors. One of the things that we're aware of that a lot of organizations are starting to include is a digital check-in capability for their guests, which can start to offer some really interesting capabilities. So let us tell you how we're going to enable digital check-in for guests that help to keep staff safe and improve the efficiency of the reception and check-in process. So firstly, optionally, you can ask your visitors to complete a health survey. If they complete the health survey, results are stored safely in line with relevant laws against booking data and can be deleted at any time using the feature I demonstrated earlier. Visitors can be booked in by a host or at reception. So if I show up at a meeting and my host hasn't made a booking on my behalf, I can then work with reception, either using a device of my own or talking to the reception staff to organize a booking. Visitors can then check themselves in through either talking to reception staff, scanning a QR code at reception, just like staff do, or using a reception device such as a shared iPad, like in the picture. After a visitor has checked in, the host will be notified automatically via the ROMS app. And this will mean that the reception staff then don't have to call up and notify the host that somebody has arrived for them. They'll just get automatically notified because when a visitor checks in, their host will be set, and then the ROMS app will take care of the rest. On the dashboard, office managers and administrators can run a report and view information about visitors and staff. So therefore, office managers know exactly who's in the building, not just the staff that are in the building. And we're also going to support digital checkout. What this means is that on the way out, your visitor can scan a code in order to check out. But if for some reason they forgot to check out, we can send them an email or SMS reminder with a URL where they can check out once they've left the building. A lot of these features, I just want to add, are based on experiences which I've had visiting a number of buildings kind of in the US and the UK. For example, Ernst Young or EY in London, they have a digital check-in system. Every time I'm invited to a meeting there, I receive an email explaining you'll need to check in when you arrive, you know, and they have the description. And also in US offices, it's very common that they want people to complete a digital check-in. And I think it's going to become even more common now that we're trying to keep reception staff safe and support social distancing. Okay, other features that we intend to add in 2021, emergency management. What this means is instant cross-device notifications and workflows in case of emergencies. So let's start by talking about some scenarios where assistance with emergencies might be relevant. We've got a cyber attack, natural disasters, terrorism, and of course the one that everybody's familiar with at the moment, pandemics. So in the case of emergency management, we're intending to add 3 features that can be customized by the customer. The first is we can send notifications to let staff know that the app is able to help them manage this emergency and any expectations that the employer has of staff. The second thing we can do is collect staff status. So it's quite common nowadays when there's, say, a natural disaster or a terrorism attack, social media launch features in order to verify, are people safe? You know, please report in, tell your family they're safe. The feature that we're proposing is very similar. You might be able to send a notification to everybody in a particular city who has just had a major storm and just say, hey, can you please let us know if you're okay or if you need any assistance? And that could just be a simple screen in the app with a form. And then optionally, you can also provide relevant guides and checklists. So in the case of a cyber attack, it might be valuable to actually give people guidance rather than encouraging kind of a flood of support calls. And in this case, you can have relevant information and a checklist to help people process that information. And you can see here, I've got a screenshot of the edit communication screen that allows you to notify your staff in the case of an emergency. And I've got a screenshot of the guidance screen from the RtO app about staying safe at the office. Okay, so another feature we're going to add next year is an enhanced news feed. Now, this news feed, I'm going to be brutally honest, we're copying this out of our upcoming marketing template. So if you've played with the marketing template, you've already seen this, but it's pretty exciting and it definitely elevates any internal news feature into a whole new level of interactivity. So news will be delivered based on personalized notification preferences. And it also will include an optional employee advocacy feature if you choose to use it. So the newsfeed can include video content, which is becoming more and more popular inside organizations, and audio or podcast content, which is, I actually would say, probably becoming even more popular than video content at the moment because audio is a lot easier to capture. It will include an optional social sharing feature to encourage staff to share content online. And you can see the social share buttons underneath the title in the screenshots on the right. These features will only show up if appropriate information is provided when the news post is created. If I do not want the information shared, I just don't fill in those fields and those features are not available. So it has a mechanism for easily disabling those if you don't want to use them. Staff can suggest news content. This is a feature that a number of customers have launched and they're getting a surprisingly high number, particularly during remote working, of people suggesting news. Obviously the water cooler is dead for the time being, and so the way in which content is shared with the business has to be more deliberate. It does not get posted automatically. It just goes straight through to the editing team, maybe the internal comms team, who get to review it, potentially edit it before it is shared. We can integrate with existing news sources. So many customers have integrated existing news feeds with SharePoint. And we've also got a new RSS import feature coming out that you'll be able to use. If you're importing content from your SharePoint or RSS, depending on your options, we will send notifications to your staff automatically whenever news is found, which further reduces editorial or management of the news content. And then finally, notifications are based on user preferences. So a user can not only choose which platform they want to be notified on, app push notifications, SMS, or email, but they can also choose what type of content to be notified about, whether that's office-specific news, news related to, say, their department or practice, and of course, when news is related to the entire organization, that can be shared with everybody regardless of their news preferences. We've also got a suite of assessments, checklists, and guides coming. I mentioned these a little bit a few moments ago. These are meant to be engaging, interactive features to support staff in or out of the office. So the scenarios that you'll be able to use these for is InfoSec or risk management, remote working, for example, assessing your remote working environment, ensuring that you're maybe not overworking, ensure that you're meeting any local standards. Mental health, this is becoming really popular. Mental health has been popular with our customers for a while now, and remote working is kind of bringing it back to the top of the agenda. And then finally, HR or pulse surveys. So you can very rapidly put a pulse survey into the app in order to collect feedback from staff, and then use a push notification in order to encourage engagement. So we believe that by having these features in, creating them as interactive features, such as an assessment or a checklist, along with any support material in the form of a guide, we can not only take the existing policies and procedures and guidance that you've got inside your organization, but we can elevate it and make it really interactive, almost fun to use. So ROMS 2021 bridges the gap from return to office to support your staff wherever they are. It's the remote and office management solution of the future, and we're very excited to be talking and sharing it with you today. ROMS 2021 is expected to launch in Q1 2021, with many features available now via our customer success team. So if you're excited to try any of the features in isolation before they're built into ROMS next year, get in touch with us now. So let's say that you really like the next version of ROMS that we're bringing out later this year, and you want to get started. So once we've launched it, we encourage you to have a play with the new version of the template. Make sure that you make a copy, which by default you will, if you select it from the template gallery by creating a new app. And then get in touch if you'd like to upgrade to the new features, because we're aware that many customers have a lot of people depending on their return to office app, and we don't necessarily want to encourage users to try to do the upgrade on their own if we can help mitigate risk. We do not advise customers to make the changes to their live return to office apps, which I think is probably fairly obvious if customers have been working with Fliplet for a while. But we do encourage you to experiment on copies of the new ROMS app. And of course, you can distribute it internally as a pilot or to a group of stakeholders to review as a web app or via Fliplet viewer. Aspects to consider when upgrading: we suggest that you consider migrating the design, brand, and screens, and creating a list of any changes to the design, the branding, or the screens that apply specifically to your app so that they're not forgotten. We would, of course, need to work with you to migrate any customizations and migrate any data. Now, one of the nice things about the data is we're trying to avoid making too many changes to the data structure in the next version of ROMS, so that it is backward compatible with the existing data structures. But still, if you've customized, we would have to reapply any changes you've made to ensure that those changes are retained and the data is utilized successfully. Okay, We have also realized that many customers are probably not going to want to do this on their own, just because it could take quite a bit of time and it obviously has some risk. We're aware that the return to office app deployment was in many cases quite a high priority app, and I don't think many customers would want to jeopardize causing any breaking changes or introducing any additional bugs. So Fliplet is happy to assist with analyzing what your upgrade would look like and assisting you if you'd like us to. So first, we're going to discuss the changes. This will include design brand screens, customizations, and data changes. We're then going to verify a list of the existing customizations made to your app with you to ensure that we've successfully highlighted them all. Then we're going to create a new app based on the ROMS current template, and we're going to merge your customizations in. This gives us an ability to have a completely separate app for testing and feedback with a pilot or stakeholder group. And then once we're happy, we'll then work with you to replace your existing return to office app with a new ROMS app. And we believe that this is the path of least resistance. We don't recommend that customers try to copy features from the new ROMS app and put them back into their existing app. We've made many kind of code changes and things like this that may not be compatible. So to avoid potentially having to deal with confusing bugs, we recommend this approach. And I'm happy to answer any questions about the approach to upgrading. So without any further ado, I'd like to take questions. So Dave, do we have any questions so far?
We certainly do. There's been a few that have come in. One, a couple of people have asked actually, is we're looking to set things up so we've got two teams, maybe a red-blue team type of thing. So that if you're in a certain team color or a certain team name, you can only come into the office on a certain day.
Yep.
Is that sort of functionality available with ROMS?
Yeah, I believe that wouldn't be very difficult to incorporate. It's not a standard feature that we have currently built in, but it wouldn't be very sophisticated. Fliplet already supports the concept of roles, as in users can have a role. I anticipate that, say, a red blue team would be just a different role assigned to different users, and then dependent on that role, we can control what features are available. So in this case, I think what you're saying is that kind of week 48, blue team can book, and week 49, red team can book, and that there's therefore additional validation on the booking screen, stopping teams booking from in the wrong week, and also probably some form of notification on the menu to say you're in red team, you can go to the office this week, and you can go to the office again in 2 weeks, but you can't go to the office next week. So there would have to be some form of reminder system to ensure that we're not annoying people because they're trying to book and find, oh, why isn't it letting me book? Oh, that's right, this isn't a red week.
Perfect, thanks for that. We've got a couple of other questions as well beyond that. So this is a question that's come out by one of our US clients, I assume, US sort of prospects. We've got offices in different states with different health-related questions that we have to ask. Can we alter these questions in the health questionnaire based on which office is being visited? Yeah,
definitely. So we can accommodate multiple health survey screens. So each health survey can therefore be customized to a different state, or if there are really, say, only 2 or 3 variants, you could just have the 3 different variants as separate screens. And then in the office information data source, we can include which health survey variant should be displayed to that user. And so what that means is that when a user is redirected to the health survey, they would be redirected to the relevant health survey screen and asked to complete that. So yeah, that would be a very easy customization. It's not a standard feature, and if I'm honest, that's the first time I've heard about that requirement, but it makes sense, and yeah, it's definitely feasible.
Perfect. A couple of other interesting ones here. So someone said, have you looked at some sort of form of check-in app, maybe on an iPad, so a user could fill their details in to log themselves in when they sort of get into the office or want to use a meeting room, etc.?
Yeah, so that is exactly what the visitor check-in feature that I mentioned is meant to be. So it could be on an iPad, on a stand in reception, and basically a user just walks up to it and it's a form, and they go through the form, they fill it in. Sometimes these visitor check-in tools also include a set of terms or guidelines that visitors must agree to in order to successfully complete their check-in. And then afterwards, a message can be sent to reception to prepare a badge. Or in the case of offices where you don't need to kind of know who a badge has been allocated to, you can have security staff just hand out badges once they see that somebody has successfully completed the check-in digitally. The other thing that's interesting about this check-in workflow is let's say, Dave, you checked into the Fliplet office, and therefore part of the check-in was for you to provide either your mobile or cell phone number or an email address. We can also then ping you, say, half an hour afterwards, a link that just like, hi, Dave, thanks for visiting Fliplet. When you're done, please check out and a URL. I tap that URL, it just opens in a browser, takes me to the web app, passes through an ID, a unique ID that identifies me as a visitor, and therefore checks me out and enables me to say, thank you very much for checking out. We can confirm that you are, you've now told us you've left the building. So you can kind of create, through a very low impact digital flow on your visitor, you can actually create an entire check-in and check-out workflow that well, makes you look very professional.
Perfect. And then this one's sort of a two-parter really. So we're required to do temperature checks when people enter our offices. So would there be a way, so the first part of the question is, would there be a way, maybe within some sort of admin version of the app, where we can log someone's temperature who's arrived that day? And beyond that, if someone is logging high on that temperature rating, is there a way to alert staff that they've come through the entrance that day and someone else has come through with a high temperature?
Yeah, definitely. So we already have a method in the health survey that if people are deemed to not be healthy enough to go to the office, they've failed their health survey, that they are therefore blocked from getting through reception at the office because their app will not go into a mode that shows a green screen for that day. And the reception security staff are expecting to see a green screen before they let staff in. If on top of that, you want to do a temperature check when people get to the office, you could potentially do that very easily. Let's say that you had a computer or an iPad at reception with a list of every staff member and potential visitor who's coming in that day, and you had one of those handheld temperature scanners. You could just point it at somebody's forehead, scan their temperature, select their name from a list, and then just punch the temperature straight in. I mean, if we didn't have to actually track their temperature, we could make it even easier. Just say kind of okay or too high, because I'm not sure, it depends on how the handheld scanner works. If it's basically just going red, if, for example, the person has a temperature is over, is it 37.5, 37.7? Basically, if they're hotter than that, we might not actually have to kind of have staff typing in people's specific temperature. It might just be, Dave has a temperature. And in that case, it says, please don't let Dave into the office. Or Dave doesn't have a temperature at the moment that I checked him. And then, we've kind of done the right thing by the other staff in the building.
Perfect. I think that's probably most of those. A couple of other bits tweaked. So someone said the 2-hour reminder to do the health survey questionnaire before they enter the office. Is there a way of editing that time length?
Yeah, so pretty much everything that I spoke about today is customizable, particularly the reminders. They're not fixed. We expect that customers will want to adjust them based on what they want. Yeah, and I think that people may want to adjust them lower or higher depending on kind of common commute times and when they want people to be doing it. I think, yeah, one of the other aspects about the reminders which I mentioned is at the moment, the app by default does not automatically remind people of the kind of additional tasks that they have to do. So for example, you've booked, now you have to do a health screening and you have to check in. So we're going to be enhancing ROMS to proactively highlight to people, you must do these additional tasks at the point that they're completing a booking. So then when they get the reminder, it is literally a reminder, not the first time they've ever heard about, oh, how do I check in or how do I do the health screening?
Perfect. That's probably it really, Ian. That's perfect.
Okay, fantastic. Okay, well, thank you very much for your great questions, everybody. While I wrap up, I'd like to tell you we've got a couple of upcoming webinars you might want to attend. The first is on the 5th of November, Thursday the 5th, and it's called Supercharge Virtual Events that Keep Audiences Engaged and are Easy to Set Up. This is going to be, I think, at the same time as this webinar, and it's going to be covering our new virtual events capability. So if your events colleagues may be interested in that, please refer them to our webinars page. And we've also got awesome apps produced by law firms and how to build your own, which is really a webinar that will run through a number of case studies and also demonstrate how to produce new types of apps with Fliplet. And that's on the 17th of November at the same time as this webinar again. So if there are colleagues who'd like a kind of a high level introduction to Fliplet, please refer them to that webinar. And you can find them all on fliplet.com/webinars. Thank you very much for watching. If you've got any further questions that we weren't able to answer today, please get in touch with us. You may already have a contact at Fliplet, but if you don't, you're very welcome to email support@fliplet.com and we'll refer you to the best people. Thank you very much for your time today, and I hope you have a fantastic afternoon and evening.